Hello everyone and welcome back to the Public Eye podcast brought to you by Granite Exchange. I'm your host Sarah Travers, and throughout this series I'll be speaking with local entrepreneurs and business owners to learn more about how their companies have come to be, to gain insight into their growth and crucially find out how they continue to innovate. So wherever you get your podcasts from, remember to keep an eye out for all new episodes and subscribe to stay up to date. Well, today in the studio, I'm joined by Myles Greenfield, owner of Myles Greenfield Upholstery, and also by Heather McFarlane, owner of Purple Heather Upholstery and Creations. Myles and Heather, you're very welcome to the studio.
Hello, Sarah. Thank you for having us today.
How are you?
Thank you very much. Yes, very well.
Well, we're going to hear more about your business in a second, but just a little bit of background for everybody tuning in today. Myles Greenfield Upholstery and Purple Heather Upholstery and Creations are two businesses running side by side at different parts of the soft furniture sector. Now, both businesses complement each other, with Heather's business being creative on chairs, footstools, headboards and bespoke lampshades, whilst Myles's business focuses on larger projects like full house bespoke upholstery manufacturing for high-end designers. So Myles, you began your journey in the industry when you took a summer job in a local upholstery company at the age of 16. And fast forward then to 1994 when Myles opened his own business at just 22 years old in his in-laws' stone barn. And you've just celebrated a huge milestone this month of 30 years in business. And in recent years, Myles has also started teaching others through his skills workshop upholstery courses. Now, moving on to Heather. Heather worked as the art and design advisor for the Education Authority for 10 years before embarking on a career change and opening her business after attending one of Myles's courses. So the pair have become great friends and now work very closely between their two businesses, lending a hand and advice on projects and recommending customers to each other. So a match made in heaven. So
it works.
It does work, and
really.
And that will be great for others to hear, not just about an established business, but also that career change later on in life when you followed that dream. So for all the entrepreneurs out there, I think that's really crucial. So Heather, I suppose maybe I might start with you, given that you did make the big career change 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. How scary was that?
Nightmare. Daunting, very daunting. It's that step of going, I had a good job, I had a really good salary, but I need something else. So, being an advisor was a fabulous job, but the job was changing. It was becoming less creative and less me. Although the team was brilliant, it was just the job, the everyday work. It was just, this isn't for me. So I thought, what else can I do? So for about 6 months, I was thinking, what else can I do? And I thought, quite fancy upholstery. So that's where I went.
Just like that?
Well, yes and no. Yeah, I just wanted something I could make a business out of, a really good business. And something that was very much me, and so something that was sustainable. As an art teacher, you gather stuff. You don't throw much stuff out, and I love making stuff and revamping stuff. So I thought, upholstery, sustainable, saving landfill, you're making something old into something beautiful. So yeah, upholstery was it.
So the art teacher there, that creative side of you was just burning for something else, and that led you to Myles. So Myles, the age of 16, this all started for you. So just give us a little bit of background.
Well, at 16, I was always very ambitious. So I grew up in Guildford, and there wasn't much in Guildford, only a local bowling club and an upholstery firm. I went to play bowls. I was playing high-level bowls for my dad's club, and then lucky enough I wanted to play for Ireland, and lucky enough I did that for many years.
Did you?
Get around the world, and then I also wanted to play. I wanted to start my own upholstery business. When I started the business, I started working in the industry. We were working with lovely quality leather and making furniture and chairs and things. I was just fascinated by it, and it was a summer job that I didn't want to end. It came to the end, and I asked, could I stay on?
So had you sorted out, was there something calling you about all those textures and the leathers and the fabrics?
All my family they were great with their hands and stuff.
Yeah.
My grandfather was great with his hands, and my father was. And it was sort of thing that if I didn't do upholstery, I was going to do something with my hands and work my way up. So, but this was really something different for me. It was a sense of achievement when you could start from something which is broken, 100-year-old, and you bring it back to life, and it's fun, turn it around, and they give the customer so much joy as well.
That's right.
When they have.
Well, I think if everybody like me is addicted to watching The Repair Shop
Yes.
On the BBC, I think you were onto something maybe before everybody else, but it's just that attachment to that piece of furniture that nearly becomes part of the family.
It is.
Or the memories, or you see that piece of furniture and you want to bring it back to life.
It's the job satisfaction that is off the scale, from a personal point of view, when you get it to how it looks before and to how it looks afterwards, and then you get the customer happy with it, and then you get, they tell their friends. That's how work starts. Back in those days, it wasn't social media driven then, and
That's right,
it was all word of mouth. Mostly families, mostly you do one for a family maybe, and then you do another, her sister, her aunt, or it grows then,
So you're celebrating 30 years in business. So in that time, you've obviously seen the way you attract the customers change dramatically.
Massively.
Have you embraced the social media, and do you see great results? And
yes, absolutely. Before, and my wife could verify this, I need to give her a big heads up here, because I was out of the house every single night chasing work. There was no such a thing as sending a photograph of a project and seeing if it's something we'd want to do or not. But you had to go and look at it.
That's
you had to
right.
go physically and look at it. But the difference with me, I was so driven. I would have went from Guildford to Portrush, say, to look at a project where
You didn't think twice about that.
No,
That was just the way you had to do your business.
I always believed that if you tell someone you'll be there and get it done, and do it right and bring it back when you say you're going to bring it back, and I learned that from early on, and the customers then respect that, and they recommend you, and that's sort of how.
But your wife's pleased that you're home a little more now.
I'm home a lot more now than I was.
And what way does the work come in now then? How does it happen?
Well, it comes in. My work changes in stages. It started off a lot of upholstery, reupholstery, repair work, and things like that for small, sort of not small, but for private customers. So I've been lucky that I've done a few jobs in the recent years that has brought me into a different level of upholstery with the interior design work and stuff like that. And then the courses were certainly a thing that was lacking. There was a lot of people left the industry in 2008 after the financial crash. A lot of upholsterers retired.
Is that right?
Just didn't come back in again. For instance, the shops I worked for, I was working for maybe 5-6 shops, and they all went bust around sort of that sort of financial crisis time. And then, so I had to basically go back to rocking chairs and footstools to get, and I kept it going.
Because there was that, people were in their homes, they were loving their homes,
Yes.
They were a little bored maybe, so they were looking to see, how can we do something? So you tapped into a need.
Before that, it was a throwaway society. And after that, the upcycling started, and
that was the word I was looking for.
yes, it started to grow, and that's basically the roots of it,
And how is that side of the business now, the training and helping others
Well,
do that?
as I said, it was Heather gave me the idea. I had coached football as well, but with local kids at Glenavon, and I enjoyed that teaching and seeing how they develop, and it was coming to an end at 10 years of that done with my good friend Adam Topping, who was also a website designer, and who also started me on the social media thing with my business. He set up my website. So I'd done work for Heather. Heather's father actually was my first bank manager.
Is that right?
We only discovered this in the car on the way up. I knew he knew Daddy and all, and Daddy was the local bank manager when I was sort of coming out of secondary school. But Myles was just starting out at 22, and he went to see my daddy.
So
isn't that lovely?
And funny enough, we just on the chat on the way up, I was studying about networking and things like that. So I ended up doing some work for Heather's father and other members of the bank. And then next thing, it was all sort of they were just, you know.
It's like a snowball effect.
It is that word of mouth, and you do a good job, and people say, you know, this is the person you need to talk to.
So that's sort of how it was. And then, so Heather then had done some work for Heather herself and family, and they said she was talking about this, and she was going to have to go to England, which is Manchester, was it? Or?
No, it's Edinburgh. Or yeah, it was England as well.
And then I had to look at it and thought, you know, I could do this. There's no one in this country doing this that I was doing. So I say a small bit of marketing and research, and it was started in 2017. So it's a sideline to my proper, when I say proper business, my upholstery business as such, but it's a sideline, and it's growing, and it's it all started from those humble beginnings.
Incredible story. And so, Heather, when did you decide I'm going to learn from this master here?
Well, the transition between deciding to leave my job, my other career, to starting a new career, I thought, what else can I do? And I went to see Myles, and I said, could you teach me? And then 2 days later, he went, I'm going to run courses. And it was almost like I said, it's like a snowball effect. So for me, just plucking up the courage to go and knock his door and go, can we chat? Because we're both in Dromore, and you don't want to encroach on somebody else's business. And I knew I wouldn't be doing what he does, because I've seen what he does, his big work. And I'm, where I was hoping to set up my workshop was up the stairs and top of the garage and all the rest. So there's no way there was a sofa going up those stairs. So I knew I wasn't going to step on his toes for the big stuff, the high end stuff. I was very much concentrating on the wee chairs, your granny's wee chair, something you've saved or you've found and you just want to revamp it. So I kind of knew I possibly had a different business, direction. So he was great. And do you know something? He's a great teacher.
Is that right?
Honestly, coming from a teaching background, it's very difficult to get a wonder of knowledge that you have and information in your brain to teach other people, and it's really hard. But I must say, Myles, I'm going to blow his head up here. Myles is very good at teaching. He has great patience. He's the right pace, and he does show people really nicely and slowly and easily how to do the cuts, and the cuts are a nightmare. See, when you're cutting the fabric, and the fabric could cost you £180 a metre, and you're about to cut it, and he's going, are you sure you want to do that now? And you're like, brilliant teacher. So it's a big task to take on, to offer courses, because you mightn't actually be a good knowledge giver. Do you know what I mean? And he is. So.
And what I love as well is that you go along, and Myles didn't feel threatened at all. No. Within 2 days, he was like, Eureka, I'm going to teach others how to do this. You didn't see these other people.
I just keep going forward. I'm happy with my own place, and I like seeing people develop with things. It's just part of my nature.
But it's those skills as well, and that sharing of that craft.
And it is a craft. People have learned from your courses, and I've learned a lot about, people say, but you're just going to cover it. I'm like, no, I'm going to take it all off.
Yes.
And then like Myles, I've only found 2 covers, 3 at the most.
Yes.
Myles, many of you found.
The record was we'd done a chair one day, and someone had covered it, and then got it recovered, and we had 8 covers on
8 covers. Oh my goodness. And all the
the
bottoms that have sat on those.
the
stories.
But you're supposed to take the layers off.
Oh,
do you know what I mean? To then put a new layer on. But no, so
bad,
eight, that's bad.
Some of the quality of like I would go out and be seeing things and outside, and just the quality needs to be higher. Sometimes So
So you're teaching and you're passing on these skills, this craft that, we could lose that.
But it
if
can't be
not.
done by AI. It can't be done by
No.
computers.
No,
you know
there's
what I
no
mean. It is a
robot
craft,
going to take this on.
and people come up and they're fascinated by the videos that we now create on social media because that facility's there. It's amazing. You kind of try and guess what we do. But we now put the videos out there and people are like, oh my goodness, wow, that's amazing, and it's hard work.
Well, yes,
it's really hard work on your hands.
And I'm wondering too, because time is money.
Yes.
Is it difficult at the start to, you don't want to mess up. You don't want to cut into that £180 fabric and you don't want to waste the money. But you know that it is that labour of love and only by that attention to detail and time. But, is that good for business?
It is because of the end product, I think. We do get speedy up, we get a little bit faster and faster. But it's not about the speed, it's about the end product and this beautiful piece that has come from tatty, old, smelly, hundreds of years of dirt and dust and whatever, crisp packets, all the wonderful treasures you find, to this beautiful piece. So, yeah, you do take your time. And it's not a fast job. You have to take your time and put the effort into it.
It is. There's a line that you have to make a profit, obviously.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we're up against the imports of the furniture that's coming over, and the cheap end of things are there's hundreds of robots making frames and and different things like that. It's hard to compete against those things. So we do try our best to keep the quality up and make a profit. And with the courses, it gives people an understanding of how much work's involved.
It's an education, isn't it? Just for people to learn what it actually takes, you know.
So many people came along to the courses and they underestimate how much work's involved. So I get them to send a photograph of the project beforehand. And can I bring my 3-seater sofa to get upholstered in a 2-day upholstery course? That doesn't really work.
So how long would it take?
If we start off small, it's a bit repetitive. About upholstery, it's about learning to do the right things early on. It's not make the mistakes. You do make mistakes, plenty of them. It's learning not to make as many as you go along. And
I'm sure you've had those moments where you think, oh no, what have I done?
You have.
Do you want to share those with us?
No.
Or no, never. You've moved on, you've had the counselling and
I go to Myles. Myles doesn't come, well, you have come to me once. Yes. I fixed something for you.
Did.
But I could spend like 5 hours at something, go, seriously, Heather, just put it in the car, put it in the van and take it to Myles.
That happened the other week.
And that happened the other week and he did something for me and in 30 minutes he had it pulled tight. I just wasn't getting the tension and the pull right on all 4 or 5 corners, So
it's just the attention to detail, getting it right, and it's all about obviously to make the customer happy with it, and the recommendation as well, And if it's not right, I've seen myself putting an arm on something and not happy with it and taking it off again.
And the next day you go back up to the workship and you go, no.
So the perfectionism, it has to be perfect in your
it's probably a wee bit of OCD involved.
Well, I'm sure, and keep you awake at night.
Stripes are a big thing. Keep stripes straight,
Really?
Stripes and check has to be the proper.
So I had a look at some of the social media and the websites as well, and what I love that you do for people is, yes, maybe we had Granny's chair and she had a very particular tapestry and you have to please try and make it as close to the original as possible, but you also encourage people to reimagine and you bring modern twists to the old, which I think is really fab. Yes. Is that something you enjoy doing?
Absolutely.
Or do you like the traditional?
No, I've traditional sort of for me, the antiques trade was a small part of my business really, and they sort of took a bit of a knock over the years, and as regards the value of them went away for some people, and there wasn't as many antiques coming because families were throwing antiques, really expensive antiques out, and replacing with sofas from certain sofa stores, and we're not going to talk about those.
Okay.
But certainly
they're on the podcast next. So no.
so they were throwing good quality furniture out. So I ended up moving into the sort of the interior design world. I was lucky to work for some of the top interior designers like Chris Turnbull, and I worked with a few others that 4 or 5 others now that are really their work's really quality. Their work's good, and I like that, and I like this.
So that means you must have some very high-end clients. Are you allowed to divulge any kind of wonderful projects you've worked on and what's been up there with the?
Well, so I've been lucky enough. I've been lucky enough to work. I was the upholsterer for the Stormont Estate for a while, for 10 years maybe.
Where are you?
Oh, got you.
I done the Senate chambers and the
With the red leather.
That's still all my work.
Aye, there you go. We've learned something new today. See, it's all about you. I didn't know that.
Yes, so I worked up there for I was doing the Belfast sort of Stormont Castle and all the sort of upholstery in there and stuff over a few years ago now, and because the facilities management company changes, and then so I don't know who's doing it now. So, but I was there for about 10 years.
Wow.
And then and just funny enough, through the courses, I get a call one day from a lady, and they happened to be the Game of Thrones people.
Right.
So then they wanted to do a course. I said, fine. They didn't tell me who they were then at the time. So it was a Canadian lady and a lady from Wales, and
They came all the way from Canada, did you?
yeah.
Did they really?
No. So they came on the course, and it turns out there was a big project for Apple TV in Limerick, and there was a lot of upholstery in it, and they were learning.
Gosh.
And then at the end, they announced what they were doing and who they were, and so we got on well, and we're friends to this day. And they invited me down to Limerick. We worked for them on Apple TV program called Foundation.
Right. I didn't see that one. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, fine. So there's a couple of series at the moment, and so I've been down there a few times, and then I've since worked with other projects for them. But it was so one minute we're doing rocking chairs, and the next minute we're doing spaceships.
Spaceships.
Yes.
That's what you're.
Yes.
It's a very varied trade.
It absolutely is.
From Little Drumore.
There you go, Little Drumore, and my goodness. So you're saying yes, though, to the opportunities?
Absolutely.
Always?
Absolutely, yes. You have to take them when they come along.
Because you might get that little spaceships. I don't know how to do that.
Yes.
I learn.
You learn. You get there.
Isn't that amazing? And even to think that the film industry would have those upholsterers and those skills and those crafts. Of course they do. But
Of course they do, because the costumes and the set.
sets.
Well, the set is
Yes.
upholstery.
And it has to be authentic, and it has to be, we can
Amazing.
see those awful sets that are cheap MDF or something like that, So it's not amazing.
This film we were doing for Apple, it wasn't flimsy sets, I'll tell you now. It was the Americans threw a few pounds out.
Gosh, what did they do with the sets after? You wonder.
That's the thing, because I was talking obviously with working down there with some of them, and some of the biggest problems they have with movie sets, they're scrapped after. And it's just a shame.
That's criminal, isn't it?
There's a lot of money wasted.
Maybe there's another spin-off business.
You never know.
I'll tell you. Imagine selling
Planted a
those on
seed.
eBay or other sites. Right, Myles, so exciting. Heather, what about you? What sort of customers do you have, and what's maybe the nicest or best project you've worked on?
I've had lots of wonderful customers. My customers tend to be the granny's chair, or a piece they've found, or something that's been in the family, and it's just revamping it. And I do love colour. I love textures. I love the bright colours. And people initially came to me because I had an eye for colour, and they wanted maybe a little bit of help and all the rest. But I never encourage anybody to take anything on that won't fit into their homes. Do you know what I mean? So some people want to go wild and wacky, and I'm like, are you sure? You might get tired of that. And what about this as an alternative? So it's just, I'm not an interior designer by any means, but some people just I want something a little bit different. I want something I can't buy off the shelf. And that's where the bespoke uniqueness comes in with reupholstery. It's not a cheaper option by any means.
No, I was going to say.
It's an option.
Right.
It's an option, and it's a bespoke option. So what we can give you is something that is truly unique. Do you know what I mean? So you can have 2, 3 different fabrics on your chair. You can have your multicolored buttons. Do you know, you can change the piping. It can be this fabric, that fabric. You know, so there are so many alternatives, and I think that is why I get excited. I know Myles gets excited too when he gets those projects. And then on the other hand, you have the other projects too where they just want it recovered and just to be beautiful again.
Yes.
Maybe they've changed their decor and you're just restoring it. And then there's the painted element came in and the sanding down, and that's still going on, but not as much. So there are waves
so you
of
can do
trends.
all of that as well. You would do.
Well, I usually subcontract that out.
Okay.
I've done the odd few 4 legs and things like that, wee simple things, but no, I wouldn't start to sand down a chair. That's and also the health and safety and things like that. So no, that's not for me. So then I had the opportunity of appearing on the telly, all through social media again. I got contacted about 2 or 3 years ago, and I thought it was a scam. This email came through, and I was like, So I Googled it, and it wasn't.
And what
it
was
was
it?
a BBC programme, Money for Nothing, Sarah Moore.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the girl who saves the stuff out of the skip. So, they contacted me and they'd seen me on Instagram and they loved the colour. And because a lot of my stuff is very, unique and colourful and all the rest, they thought...
It's very Purple Heather, isn't it?
It is very Purple Heather.
Is purple your favourite colour?
Well, Heather
Purple
is
Heather's-
purple,
yeah,
and
of
I do
course.
love purple. I love bright, vibrant colours. So yes,
You
in
drive
front.
past our house, you'll know.
Oh, really?
Well, the house isn't purple, but the front door
the
is,
front
and the
door is
post
and the
box,
gates
and
and
there's a lot of purple. They
And
got
what
in
did you have to
contact.
do on that for anybody that didn't see?
Well, I'm the only artisan from Northern Ireland to date who's been on the TV. So I was given 6 dining room chairs. And so, and there was an arm broken. So I got it fixed. I did a wee bit of it myself, fixing it. It was quite easy to do, actually. So I was able to do that. And my dad has been very handy. I think I get my talent from my dad. His father was a joiner carpenter. He was a teacher of it. So Daddy always has those skills. And over the years since I was a youngster, being arty, you learn these things and you watch your daddy.
You just work it out.
And you work it out. So I worked out how to fix the arm in the chair, and it was all televised. And so people.
So was your daddy on as well?
No, he wasn't.
Oh.
No.
But isn't
no.
it so lovely that you
But
could work
and
together
here he
on
was.
it? Oh, that's so sweet.
He knows. He helped.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Because things were going on in the background too. So,
Right.
but even just seeing how the programme was made from behind the scenes, and the cameraman and Sarah coming to the house and all, and it was great. And Sarah's lovely.
Good.
She really is
She's
lovely.
lovely.
So Sarah Moore, yeah.
And
So
did you get much work as a result of that? Did people contact you?
you do. Well, I got bits and pieces. People, would come up to you and chat away. I love that programme, Money for Nothing. And I go, right, And it's just, I love it. I love it when they save the stuff out of the skip and blah, blah. And then I go, I was on it. I knew you were on it. I knew that was you. But they don't want to say anything
They're scared.
until you've confirmed it was you.
Just in case. Yeah, they don't want to make a fool of
Yeah.
themselves.
So,
Right.
I loved it. It was just...
So something like that.
I-
We need another programme for you.
I
Heather.
think we need a Northern
Northern
Ireland
Ireland
version of it. Because it's very expensive
I'll have a word. I have
for
a few people
Have
I
you-
know.
for
you know
people to
anyone?
come over. Yeah. And there's so many artisans, makers and creators in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
We can do it on our own.
And there's a huge appetite for all of that repurposing.
yes, absolutely. And I think
mend and make do. That's very much
Absolutely.
where we're
Yeah.
at the minute.
Yes.
And we're in a cost of living crisis, and
Yes.
the sewing bees and all of those.
I love
programs
it.
too.
Yes, I love all that sort of stuff, and I just love watching and seeing what other people can do, and it inspires you to go off and try it yourself. And if you're not successful, it may not be to the standard of the professional standard, but that doesn't matter.
Just to
People
even
have
say
tried
that
it.
you've done that
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
That's what you get with the learning this. It's just a sense of achievement. I've always said the sense of achievement is massive.
Yeah,
Getting something from
from us as professionals, my sense of achievement, you start out and then you go through that, oh, this is tricky, this is really hard, and then all of a sudden this, wow, and you go, yes,
I did it.
I've done it, and it's beautiful.
I worked it out and it made it work. Yeah.
And I get that. You get butterflies when you're handing it
So
over.
lovely. It is like the repair
client.
shop. That moment, I cry every single time.
And I've had people who cry. I'm sure you have as well. Like I had a lady who called there a few weeks ago. I've never met her, and she was all hugs. And you really do feel as though they've come in sort of a stranger wanting something, and then they go away, you know, almost.
And you know, they're giving you their money and
Yeah.
they're taking that risk.
It's a big
oftentimes
investment.
with a piece of furniture that matters so
Oh,
much.
very much so. Yeah.
And, you know, and they're taking a risk on you and then you deliver and probably over deliver. So that's really fabulous. You also teach others then as well, Heather.
Yeah, during COVID when fabric wasn't available, clients weren't available, foam, all the rest, I decided to go down the route of lampshade making. I'd sort of dabbled with it and I thought it was a big investment, you know, to buy the kits to make. So I started making lampshades. Again, using remnants of fabric. You know, these are pieces of fabric that you maybe have left over from curtains, blinds, or you can make a lampshade out of anything. It could be a scarf, an old dress, if it's big enough to cover. So, so I started lampshades. So then, because Myles does the courses, I thought, well, I have a teaching background. Myles does courses, people come to those sort of things, so I do courses as well.
And
so,
how are they going?
They're going really, really well. Again, my courses are only 2 hours, but yeah, people love them, and they go home with a lampshade. That's
good
can't
fun
be bought.
as well.
Yeah,
and
it's good fun.
And would you get groups of people coming together to do
Yes,
that? Because
well,
that's quite in at the minute, isn't it?
I'm hoping to push and maybe sort of encourage like hen nights,
I was
because
going to
not
say.
everybody wants to go and do what we used to do at hen nights. I'm past sort of that.
I even saw that paint and sip
Yes,
courses, you know, that you can
yes,
have art.
uh-huh.
And
I'm not
learn
so sure you could
something.
make a lampshade with
No.
sipping, but spillages. But yeah, that is
Coffee.
kind of
Yes.
coffee. Yeah,
I suppose you keep things away from the fabric. Right.
So yeah, I would like to go down that route, and I think there is potential, and it's just again, it's marketing, you know.
Potential being that there is groups of people coming along to my courses. The men's sheds and things are starting. You know, those are people. I've got inquiries from community groups who want to come along for, you know. But the problem I have is getting out. They want me to go along sometimes to bring my courses to them. But it's too much machinery involved as regards with our compressors and sewing machines. So it's difficult to do that, you know. So we're thinking of ways around that, maybe online.
Yes, just trying to do something that makes it work. Also, how do you cope? There's only one of you, and you know you have the skills. Do you have employees, or what way did?
No.
No, in a word.
It's the old one. It says we do this. It's just me. Social media,
royal we.
websites. Yeah. You sort of subcontract it out to somebody else, another maker and creator.
It's a very cottage industry. The reps will tell you when they go around, they go to garages, sheds, and upholsterers are working. There's no very few big upholstery firms, or it's all very small, and they're all independent. And we just get on with it. I'm lucky. I have got a good network of. My wife does all my admin and working and the finance end of things, and I have my son can help me doing with the social media and stuff, and Angela helps me with the sewing of all the cushions and things like that. Sure. But it's quite small, and Heather helps me with smaller projects as well.
That's right.
So you collaborate and you help
we
each
do
other,
collaborate.
and that's been really good for business.
Absolutely,
so no threat. In fact, she's
no.
enhanced
I would recommend. I would right. I can't do this for you, unfortunately, but I know someone who will absolutely do this for you, and I would pass on, and vice versa.
And I do the same. I'd say I know somebody who can help you with that. I can't do it, but. Because remember at the time you said, is Dromore big enough for the two of us? At the beginning, you know.
Yes.
And there were people out there going, you know, is Myles happy with you setting up in Dromore in the same town?
I'm sure.
But there's other upholsterers in the town as well. But we would work very closely together. So I would fire people around to Myles, go and visit Myles. Myles will help you with that or whatever, you know.
Well, that's it. It actually is better for business.
It is a fact. It is a thing that is another reason why we did start the course is because the trade is dying out. As I'm 52, there's very few businesses that opened, and there's people younger than me. You know, I don't know. There's very few in the last 30 years I remember coming on to do it. More retirements than anything else.
And no one in the family wanting to take it on?
Unfortunately not. My oldest son can do it. He's 27, but he's into his photography and his media. He's himself, So, but no, the other one's an accountant, and the other one's going to be a lawyer. So hopefully, my daughter's going to be a
well,
law
I can
degree.
see how they can all help with the business. But at the end of the day, if Dad's the one that's actually producing the goods, how long do you think you'll do this, or is this something that will happen
this
forever?
is the thing. I'm not waiting to go out the door and retire. I don't think I will retire. I still love it. I still love it doing it every day. It's a sense of achievement. I keep saying is phenomenal. That hasn't left me in 30 odd years. Physically, it's going to probably tell apart.
Right. I was going to say all the joints and
it's
the
lifting,
back breaking, is it?
In some ways it minds you because it keeps you fit. And in some ways it breaks you.
It'll break you.
Because you're back, back and lifting a lot of heavy weights and stuff with
hands.
Yeah, so it's quite physical. But it's still good.
And how do you look after yourself then? How do you get that work-life balance?
Oh, we have to keep work-life balance. I mean, I definitely close the doors at 5:30, 6 o'clock. Because I work from home. We built a new house, and my workshop's 27 steps. Not that I've counted from my front door.
Isn't that lovely?
And then
just roll out.
Yes, and roll back in. But you have to make a conscious decision not to stay longer, because you'll end up on working too hard. It has happened to me a few times where we need to get stuff out. It's physically impossible,
And are people understanding of that? The fact that you are a craftsman at the end of the day. Do people actually leave you alone to work your magic?
This is the thing. You just can't magic this stuff up. It takes time. And
managing people's expectations, is that an issue?
So yes, well that's one thing I learned early on. You can't overpromise and underdeliver. You can't do it. And you have to be realistic and tell the people, I will have this back for you in a week to 10 days if I'm doing a project or lifting. So that's a bigger job. Sometimes you're let down by other trades aren't ready, and you have to fall in line and things like that. But that's another issue. But if you be honest with the people and tell them this is where I am, I can do it for you such and such, then that's most people are now understanding.
You try to be accommodating coming up to Christmas. Christmas is mad.
Gosh,
everybody wants everything for Christmas.
Yes.
Dining room chairs in particular, aren't they?
Yes.
So you kind of, I've learnt through Myles and just through just getting on with it that coming up to Christmas, you're like, right, okay, I'm going to have suddenly people will appear looking their dining. So you sort of have to think, right, I'll leave a slot for the odd person. Do you know what I mean? Particularly a customer who's a very regular one, So you do
learn
slot
to manage
in
the diary.
and try to organise your diary that way.
And sometimes do you have to say no?
We do say no, yes. But some people don't realise, that they've left at the last minute, but that's fine. You do try to accommodate, but other times just go, I am so sorry. You have a holiday coming up, or whatever,
just going back to the social media end of things, before I would have travelled to a house in Armagh, Dungannon or somewhere, just for instance, to look at a chair, and the chair is impossible to do. There's no profit on it or anything like that. But now social media, you come along and pop a photograph through, and then you can say, sorry, but it's not for us.
Yeah.
And then
and so there are some that are just not salvageable and there's no point in it.
There's some that's not profitable,
right?
Because it would take too long to do them. They've only bought it for peanuts, and they can't. As Heather said earlier, it's not a cheap option.
No.
Recovering is not.
What would we be talking price wise?
It depends on the job.
Every job's unique.
Every
job
is different. I mean, people say, "Can you send me a price list?" I don't have a price list.
Yeah.
It's not that you make it up. It's the wear and tear, the number of buttons, the studding, what the fabric people pick, just
the 8 layers of
8 layers. How many layers
That's
are in
right.
it? Whether the springs need fixed, new webbing, does it come back down to the frame, or is it just a straightforward cover? Do you know what I mean?
So there's a rough guide with a big caveat at it. It's just this is what it usually costs. But if we find that this is
So you've got all these different.
Yes.
So it is. That's what makes it bespoke. That's what makes it unique. Is every job is different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What are you most proud of, Heather?
Where I am, I suppose, and the success. You know, I thought it was. I wanted it to be a real good business, and I wanted people to take me seriously. And when I started taking myself seriously and going, no, you're really good at this. You know, stand by your name. So I'm very proud of myself that I'm doing the upholstery. I've got my van, I've got my premises, I'm out there. I've done so many new things that have excited me and made me feel as though, you know, I'm really good. And
So
I really enjoy it. That's the thing. People will say to me, you really do enjoy your job. And I'm going, oh, yes. And I do. And I think I'm happier in my workshop. I stop at 3:30 most days because the kids finish school, or if they've got after school clubs, you know, hockey or whatever. So I stop at 3:30. But sometimes I'm like, I can't stop. I don't want to stop. I love this. I'm in the middle of something. I'm really enjoying it. And to stop and go and taxi the kids and bring them home and make the tea.
It's momentum.
It's momentum. You want to keep going.
You're on a roll.
Yeah.
And isn't that wonderful, though?
It's a lovely thing to do, to know that you go up to your workshop and you just love it. So
being like a composer or a musician or an artist, you have
just
good days and bad days, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I love the mix of the chairs, the lampshades, and then, you know, the retail space up in Coleraine. So I love the range, and every day's different, and every job's different. Even you get the same Parker Knoll chair, it's different because you're putting different fabric on. It belongs to a different customer. It's going into a different home. It's got a different story. So every job is just unique.
So you mentioned the places that people can find you, but tell us about the shop in Coleraine.
Oh yes. About a year ago, a friend of a friend saw my stuff on Facebook, my lampshades and all my other sort of creations that I make, you know, cushions and things like that. And she said, would you like to join us in this shop, this retail space? It was for a cooperative of artisans, makers and creators. So there was glass makers, there's jewellery, there's felters, there were 8 of us. And then there was other people who were on commission. So unfortunately that shop closed in April, but we are now opening up a new shop and it's called Hare and Hawthorn, and it's opening up at the end of June. And again, it's some of the same artisans, makers and creators, myself and a few new people coming together to sell our creations to people in Coleraine and the surrounding area.
Well,
so
that's very exciting for
it's
me. I'm up in Portrush, so
well, there you go. And you get so many. I get to go up and I get to work in the shop. I meet people because we're quite isolated. What we do, you're in your workshop on your own. So I go up to the shop and I love it. I get out, I get to talk to people, and I've had so many customers for chairs as well and other pieces of upholstery as well as the lampshades. So
I mean, you've touched there on, I suppose, the crafters, those skills, those are entrepreneurs for generations, you know, but we would never have called the blacksmith an entrepreneur, but that was the kind of the hard graft, knuckle down, provide for your family, and you are that key worker, you know, so it is a lot of pressure. And it's interesting to hear you, Heather, say about, you know, you had to have that self-belief. You were worried about what others were thinking, but actually only because you weren't giving, it wasn't the positive self-talk that you needed to be doing. So what you've done is amazing, and I'm sure that a lot of the listeners tuning in will be going, oh, I want to do something like that, but I'm just a bit scared. So we'll come back to the final question in a minute just to see that advice.
She's done well.
She had a good teacher.
I'm actually very proud of her for what she's done. You know, she's really done well. And it's, every time a course comes along, she gets mentioned.
Is that right?
Star pupil, you know.
Star pupil, top of the class. What are you most proud of, Myles?
Well, as I said before, I started when I was 22, opened my own business. I wanted to get that done. I was driven. In my life, I've been very supported by wife Sonia and family. Both parents has really supported me, and I'm proud of the achievements I've done with the business and with the sporting as well. When I talked previously for Bowls for Ireland and stuff, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of all of the achievements, and I'm proud of the courses as well. just in a good place at the moment, you know.
You're very modest as well, Myles. Yeah. And it's hard to say that. I'm proud of, I've achieved a lot.
I don't like saying anything about it, but I just,
no, I can tell.
I always go forward. I don't like, looking back so much, but I do like just keep going. I do like to keep going and see how we get where it takes me. We've lots of things to come,
And very exciting things to come. Anything you can reveal? I know you've mentioned the men's shed, but anything exciting coming up for you now?
Well, it's just on. My son's involved in the media and a photographer and things, and he's helped me start up. And it's really daft. I like people being happy for a start. I started the TikTok thing, and keeping and having my 3 black Labradors to keep me company during the workshop. But it's just a bit a light-hearted look at upholstery and things like that, because it's not all serious and showing what people have to do. So I just want to make it fun for everybody and think, it looks good. I wouldn't mind trying that and things like that, and bringing it forward with the social media and with the like that, or maybe starting online courses. At just early days with that at the moment. We may even start our own podcast, will we?
Oh, might.
That would be good.
But we want to steal your thunder now,
Well, no, that's fine. There's a room for everyone, as Myles
is
demonstrated to you.
We could invite you on.
And I don't live in Dromore, so it's all right. I could come on as a guest.
But there is potential for, lifting this trade up, this craft, as we call it, and lifting it up and getting the wider audience and have a bit of fun with it. Isn't it?
But I do think it's something that young people could embrace, and come on board. We've got all our labourers and joiners and all the rest. It's a dying trade. Yeah. There are more and more. There are a few females in Northern Ireland who do upholstery, but again,
and that's the thing.
It's fitting it in round family, isn't it?
That's the thing. When I started the courses, I didn't know who was going to turn up, and 90% of them are female.
Is that right? Because you can fit it around family, which is, we shouldn't just say that women are the only ones minding families, but it does. It seems to.
I get a lot of art teachers, and we get a lot of medical professionals who come to are stressed with their jobs. We have a doctor in the city, and a cancer doctor in the city comes to me for upholstery courses. We have some good friends of mine as well now, Ian and Olivia. They're working in the sort of mental health sector, and they've come to get de-stressed with their upholstery and they're learning new skills. So I get a lot of things.
Total distraction, something totally different, and
they just lose themselves.
That's
things,
wonderful. Wonderful.
And so lots of things going on.
Yeah. Anything next for you, Heather?
I would like to further my workshops. At the moment they're small. I would like to take them to another level, become maybe more adventurous in what we do and what we create, maybe printing fabrics and then making them into lampshades. So I do have lots of things spinning around in my head. It's just fitting it in around family, husbands, taxiing kids, social media, my finances. I've only got one, thankfully. One's enough.
Oh, listen, the two of you have been a joy, and it's been an education for me. I know nothing about this world apart from my love of the repair shop, so I can see that how painstaking it is, and it's just lovely to have two slightly different entrepreneurs compared to other people that we've had in here, and that's the beauty of this podcast. But there's one question, a final question that I ask everyone, and it really is about inspiring other existing business owners and ambitious entrepreneurs to grow their businesses by offering an insight into the success of businesses such as yours. But let's go back to that idea, that risk, that kind of, I've got this burning desire to do something. What advice would you give to people who may have a business idea but have no idea where to begin or are unsure as to whether the risk is worth taking? Heather?
Yes, it is worth taking. If you're not happy or content in what you're currently doing and you think you've a really sound idea, go and speak to people. I spoke to Myles. I had the backing of my husband Neil, my mum and dad, and there is help out there from the councils, from other businesses as well. So I think you just have to take that step and know that other people have done it, and and are loving it, and I still get excited. And I would love to talk to people and share my where I've come from, my journey. And I used to talk about this being my job. And my brother said to me, no, Heather, this is your career. You've changed careers. Don't downplay it. This is a new career. Take it, embrace it, and run with it. And I think when you talk to more people, they say wee things and they stick. And then you go, yes, actually, I'm going to take that and I'm going to run with it.
Great advice. Myles, same question to you.
Well, people say about having a job. I tell people, and I joke with them on the course, I don't have a job. This is not a job to me. It doesn't feel like a job to me. But you have to have a bit of drive and focus. And if you do something you really love, you will. And if you want it bad enough, you'll go and get it. And I was able to luckily fall into that upholstery job at 16, and it was fascinating. It was something different than what anybody else was doing.
Thank goodness you did, and the pleasure that you've brought to so many people and the sharing of that knowledge, which is so important to you. I hope you continue to do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Heather McFarlane, owner of Purple Heather Upholstery and Creations, and her mentor indeed, Myles Greenfield, owner of Myles Greenfield Upholstery. This has been a great episode. I hope you've enjoyed it too. We'll see you next time. This podcast was recorded in Granite Podcast Studio. Interested in starting up your own podcast but don't know how? Granite Podcast Studio can help. Record your podcast in our state-of-the-art studio, which is based in the heart of Newry City. Our studio has cutting-edge and user-friendly technology and can seat up to 4 people. We also provide an editing service for our team, using your guidance and editing notes to provide you with a flawless finished product, leaving your listeners wanting more. For more information on how you can get started, visit www.granitepodcaststudio.com.